So hello and welcome to my next chess video. This time I show you the game between Houdini 4 x64B versus Monarch 1.7. And I let them play the Panov attack, which arises after the moves e4, c6, d4, d5, pawn x d5, pawn x d5, and c4, and then the move knight to f3, the f6, the Panov attack. So probably something like knight c3 here, takes, and knight to d3, knight to c6, then d5 maybe, knight here attacking the bishop moves back to d7, or yeah, the bishop moves back to d7, and yeah, I think the position is around equal though, so probably knight here taking and bishop takes. What can black do in this position? Knight f6, knight c3 probably. Then also the move e6 could be handy. And after knight f3, then the move knight c6, bishop g5, bishop e7, takes, bishop takes here, knight takes, or queen takes here, knight takes probably, bishop e3, and now castling is pretty risky. Maybe there is something like bishop takes h7. Well, I'll show you why this isn't working. First, because of this check here, and although you can defend the queen, but it's not really defending the queen because the knight is pinned to the king. So this is not working. So we have the move knight c3. Maybe this kind of variation also. Bishop here and now castling. Maybe there's some bishop takes h7 trick. I don't know. The knight is not defended, but this check, king takes knight, maybe h4 or 4, king here, maybe, then the queen goes here, check, and the king escapes, so there is no bishop takes h7, but you have to check this first before you go into castling. We have the move knight c3. Instead of e6, we have the move knight c6. Probably taking here, taking there, bishop here, taking there, and now e6, knight f3. Bishop d6, bishop g5, f6, bishop here, castling. Castling, maybe something like this is playable for both sides. Let's see. This is just what I would do when I won't think about the position, just the moves which come into my mind when I first see the position. So those moves look normal though. Knight c3, oh yeah, knight f3, bishop here, bishop g5, f6, Maybe f6 is Little too early castling, and now maybe not castling, but yeah, well, queen here doesn't do that much. New variation because of rook here defending the pawn. Yeah. Also after f6 the bishop could go all the way back. Castling, b6, h4, a4, bishop b7, and bishop here, maybe to exchange this bishop, to maybe go bishop here, here, and c4. For example, rook takes, rook here, bishop here, rook e8, c4, and you cannot take this pawn because of knight takes, queen takes, and bishop takes here, check, winning the queen. And also the rook is very good here on this file, but maybe can switch all the way to h3 if the smoke is cleared, or to g3. But let's see what Houdini comes up with here. We have to move knight c6. I would take the pawn and play bishop c4. Now also possible is here the move d6 after capturing the move bishop or bishop here probably, because if you go here the pawn on d4 will hang. No, it doesn't. Maybe you can sacrifice it. After this check, it's attacking the knight, so the only move is to go back with the knight and then here, and maybe you get some compensation for the pawn, but I don't think so. So maybe pawn takes, knight takes, and bishop to c4 now. You could also play something like bishop e3 or knight f3. Well, after knight f3 maybe this pin is slightly annoying. After bishop e2 then taking here, taking there, and then e6, castling, and bishop to d6. And for example something like h4 fails miserably due to h5, and if, for example, you attack the bishop, then this queen will be attacked, and then, well, this doesn't work though. So I thought this works, but it doesn't, so, maybe bishop g5 in this position to pin the knight to the queen. And then maybe castling, h3, bishop here, rook to the c file, h6, you can always play those moves, and rook to the c file. And this position should be around equal, around even. But let's see. We instead have some different move. Here after knight c6 we have the move bishop to e3. Okay, protecting the pawn that way, because now pawn takes c4 was threatened, followed by queen takes here. Well, pawn takes c4, then you could maybe go d4. What's the move from black here? Maybe taking here and go for something like this. This looks crazy though. Bishop here. Bishop here, check. Knight blocks. And then queen takes here and rook here. And black seems to have a very difficult time after rook d1. Here, for example, check right there. King just goes here, and what to do about this threat over here? Maybe taking it. Rook takes, and then yeah, rook takes is just crushing through. Rook takes, and queen here checkmate. So this is just one variation. I want to illustrate, and we have the move d takes and bishop takes. Now maybe bishop to g4, knight f6, takes here. Yeah, this is not quite possible, because you just take and play the mate here. Okay, we have a different move. Then bishop g4, we have the move knight to g4, which attacks the bishop. Okay, knight to g4. Maybe something like queen to b3 now to attack f7. So if, for example, if you take the bishop, then bishop takes here and queen here, check, and then you take there, threaten some check over here or check over there with the knight. So this looks pretty lost for black. So after this you might have to play something like e6, but then maybe h3, or not h3, just normal development, and knight takes here, pawn takes here, bishop e7, and castling, and black also castles. Okay, we have a different move. Instead of queen to b3, we have the move queen to f3, same idea, threatening on f2. And now e6 doesn't work, because a knight would hang. So how to defend this pawn here? f6 looks pretty weird, but maybe it's a move here. f6 followed by e5. Maybe castling queenside. Knight takes, pawn takes. Yeah, we have the move f6. Knight takes, pawn takes, and maybe e5. No, e5 doesn't work here. So e6, because you can just take with undiscovered attack on the queen. So e6 to prepare the bishop to move. But now you could go maybe d4. Yeah, d5. Which attacks the knight and also the pawn. So if you take, then maybe even rook takes, attacking the queen. Queen has to move somewhere, maybe here. And then, I don't know, the rook again attacks the queen. The queen goes there. Now the knight comes in, attacking the queen. Queen goes back to d8. I don't know what white gained here, but it looks pretty aggressive and pretty strong, and I think white is better here. So there must be some better moves for black. f6. Maybe castling queenside, yeah. Knight takes, pawn takes, and e6, d5. Yeah, this looks quite straightforward for both sides. You could also go for something, for some other stuff, like queen here to maybe go e5 next. Okay, we have a move though. We don't have the move castling. We have the move knight to e2. Now maybe the move e5 is possible, because if you take, you can take either with that or with that knight. And then the queen might pin the knight. Knight takes, pawn takes, to open up files. You cannot take the bishop, but you maybe can pin the knight here, and then castling. Bishop takes knight, knight takes bishop, and castling. No, you cannot castle because the bishop controls this file. So, it's pretty hard to find a move here for black. Maybe queen here to attack the bishop. Yeah, but then you can give this check and attack the queen. Queen goes there, let's say, and now the other rook comes to the c file, and white's position is superior here, but black can castle, and maybe black isn't that bad off here. Yeah, we have the move e5, but let's go back to this critical position, e5. Yeah, rook d1, this was the next thing I wanted to suggest. Rook to d1 also looks good to threaten now to take here, and with a discovered attack on the queen, so queen c7 maybe. So if you take here, you could take with this knight, or also with the other knight, but maybe with the other knight it's better to open up an attack on the bishop. So now you have to play bishop here and exchange. No, this check is quite deadly, you have to go there. But then the queen comes in here with a check. Now you can block with the bishop and you should be safe as black. White's position though is still better, but you survived the hard part. So let's see if we see queen c7. Also possible is the move knight takes e3, followed by f takes e3. At least I will play f takes e3. And then, for example, pawn takes, knight takes, rook takes, and queen c7. Well, queen c7 doesn't do that much here, because you always have this knight to here attacking the queen. Queen has to stay on this square here. Also, maybe this is better, because then this check doesn't work. Well, it works. It still works. But okay, let's see what we get. Yeah, we get the move knight takes and pawn takes, and maybe now queen c7 or e takes d. Let's go with queen c7. Knight here attacking the queen. Queen gives a check right here, and the other knight joins in here, and white's position is pretty strong here. For example, bishop here, knight takes, queen takes, bishop there. Black still cannot castle, so maybe bishop to d7, pawn takes. Well, pawn takes is quite terrible because of this check and checkmate, so black has to be careful there. Bishop here, and here, bishop here takes. So probably you have to take with the knight, attacking the queen. but then maybe queen here attacking the bishop. Well, the bishop is defended by the knight. Okay, maybe this is not that bad for black. It looks bad though, but maybe black can castle and it's just about holdable. But we have the move, instead of queen c7, we have the move e takes d. Now I would go knight takes d. After knight takes d, rook takes d. And you see all of white's army, nearly all of white's army is developed, and black's army is still on the back foot, the back side, on the first rank. And yeah, we have the move knight takes. And I wouldn't go knight takes here. I would rather move the queen somewhere, probably to b6 or c7, or to a5. What's the best square for the queen? Probably b6. Yeah, but yeah, b6 attacking the pawn here. Castling by white maybe. And if black is greedy, then maybe black will lose instantly due to queen here threatening mate, or not mate, but it's nearly a mate. So for example, if you take the knight, then check here, only square, and double check and mate. So this doesn't work for black. So taking this pawn followed by queen to d5 looks pretty bad. So you might have to go here to defend against queen f7, but then, yeah, what then? Maybe knight here to threaten a fork, which could also lead to checkmate. And black's position seems pretty busted here, so you cannot take the b pawn, so there is no reason for queen here. So a knight move, maybe to e5 to attack the queen, but then the queen maybe even gives a check here, and then just goes back right here to threaten this pawn here after castling. Okay, we have to move knight a5. We have to move knight e5. And now we have to move queen here, pinning the knight, because the bishop was also attacked, sorry. Okay, now the knight is pinned. And, well, maybe bishop to d6 now. Or queen b6. Queen b6 going after this pawn. But I think it doesn't really work because of castling. Queen takes here. And knight here, threatening this check here. And you cannot really allow this. Also another idea is knight here to here. Maybe. Yeah, you cannot allow this kind of stuff. I think this is too much activity for white. But we have to move queen b6. Going after the pawn. I would castle here if I were white. And I'm finished with development. My rooks are on very nice files. So there will be some sacrifices probably. Or even the game ends without some sacrifices. It looks pretty lost for black. This f6, this opening went pretty bad and pretty wrong for black, but let's see how Houdini finishes this game off, and I will see the evaluation of both engines like in every game. Yeah, we have to move castling, and the Monarch thinks it's better for white, and Houdini thinks it's just winning for white, and I also think it's just winning for white, because just look at white's army and look at black's army. This is busted. Black's king is in the center, and yeah, maybe there are even some sacrifices on f6 possible in the future. Bishop d7, knight here attacking the queen. Queen has to keep an eye on this square right here. So maybe queen a4 or queen d8 maybe. But then knight here threatening again this fork. Bishop takes, knight takes check. King here loses due to queen takes knight because the pawn is pinned. So, and there is no other move. There is no other move, so you cannot take the knight. You have to play something like rook to c8. And then you can either win a pawn here, or you can go for something more. Probably going for something more is better. But what exactly to do? Okay, we have a move. We have the move queen c5 attacking the bishop. The bishop moves to b3. So, what to do now? Yeah, black's army seems pretty... Black seems pretty lost here. Just look at the center. There are 3 white pieces in the center. The knights are wonderful. The bishop is wonderful. The rook here is wonderful. The rook here is wonderful. The queen is nicely centralized. And black's pieces, this rook is sleeping. This bishop is not developed. This king is in the center. And yeah, okay, now this bishop gets developed, but I think it's too late. Too late for anything here. And now, let's see what to do there. Knight c4. What to do with the white army? You can still screw this with white. Black played a couple of good moves here. Okay, white changes to the c-file, attacking the queen. The queen doesn't have a lot of squares though. Cannot go here, cannot go here, cannot go nowhere here. Not here, not here, so the only square for the queen is queen a5. And the queen goes to a5, keeping an eye on this c5, c7 square. Maybe now rook takes f6. Okay, no, we don't have rook takes f6. We have knight to f4, attacking the bishop, so maybe bishop takes, rook takes, and yeah, castling leads to a mate, check, double check, check, only move is to take it, and then this is mate. So you cannot castle here still. So this is probably the idea. You cannot allow this knight to stay here. You could also take with the queen, yeah. Taking with the queen, and castling would lose due to this double check. Again, here, check. Oh well, now you could take with the knight, though. No, this doesn't work. And in the other variation, if you take with the rook, if you take this with the rook, this is the question. Then castling, double check, king goes there, rook goes there probably, because otherwise threatening mate, so you have to go here, check, knight takes, queen takes, and then there is no defense. Well, you have to go queen here, here lose the queen, but this loses the queen, so you cannot castle still. Castling is out of the question. Also after queen takes, castling, knight here, check, king here. I don't know. Maybe you can castle here. Maybe black can castle here. No, well, if castling... I don't know, if castling, then maybe queen here and you lose a piece, so you cannot castle. So that's why black played the move queen here back. Now we have to move knight, queen here check. Probably blocking with the queen, trying for a queen exchange, which would help black. But what to do? What to do? Maybe now rook takes here. Pawn takes, knight check. If the king goes there, then we have this check. If the king goes back, well, or here. But if the queen goes... No, this check doesn't even work. Though, so the king goes there. No, there is no rook sacrifice. So I bet queen to e7. No, queen to e7 doesn't work because the knight is there. The king has to go to f8. And now rook to f5 we have. Yeah, the activity of white's pieces is enormous and this rook is dead. So let's see how long this game will last. I bet it won't last long here at this point, because black seems pretty busted. But how exactly to crash through? Probably doubling on the f file. If some random move, I don't see a move for white anyway. Rook takes check, only move. Rook takes check, only move is, well, not queen here, maybe knight here, but this leads to checkmate. After queen takes here, this is checkmate. So you'd have to give up the queen. Check. Now I don't want to get double checkmated here. So okay, we have moves here. We have the move queen here. Not this one. Move queen here. Yeah, now simple tactic. This one just wins the game immediately. If you take here, then the queen is hanging, and if you take the queen, then you take with the rook. So this game is over. This game is over by the shouting. And yeah, it was a pretty instructive game how to develop pieces in the Panov variation of the Caro-Kann. And I quite liked this game. The first strange move was in... Yeah, I think after knight to g4 it was pretty hard, because queen f3 was a pretty strong reply, and f6, this just looks wrong. I don't know, but this just looks wrong. And now when the smoke clears, it's just wrong. White is a piece up and this rook in the corner is doing nothing. So let's see both evaluations. I think it's dead lost here. Yeah, 6 by Monarch and 6 by Houdini. So I think we can call it a day. This game is over. It's a win for white. Okay, this was a pretty bad game by the Monarch, but okay, let's see. Let's recap this game a little bit. So we had the move, this moves here. Yeah, bishop e3, is not exactly the main line, but takes, and knight g4 is not exactly the refutation. And you can play like this as white with the move bishop e3 because it's Houdini 4 which played it. So you can't do this, and knight g4 is not a good move because of queen f3, f6, probably the only move to kind of stay in the game. But then knight to d2, also castling queenside would be a very good option, I think. But knight d2 is very good. e5, this is probably black's idea, but black can never really castle here. Attacking the queen, and now all of white's pieces are developed, and this is pretty dead lost now. Yeah, and here I called it a day. It was a very instructive game. How to manage, how to play against an innovative and creative opponent. This knight g4 was not exactly the best move, but it's creative with the idea f6 and e5. Striking in the center is creative. It's really creative. So, but all in all, it's just a too slow plan. And the pawn f6, the f pawn, is should really be on f7. Here, yeah, very nice game here by Houdini 4. Okay, the king can't move. Yeah, it's over. This position is so over. Thanks for watching and see you next time. This was the ending position.